Hi friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm joining you again from the Atlantic Ocean. We are currently cruising the Caribbean on our way back to Florida. This cruise is coming to an end tomorrow in less than 24 hours, and I'm so sad about it, but it's just been the most amazing, relaxing time, and I'm so grateful that we got to do this trip, Kumar and I. I don't know if I mentioned, it's our baby moon. And initially, I wasn't really planning on doing a baby moon. I was like, I'm just gonna sit at home and not be anywhere. But if you haven't seen my previous video, what are you doing? I shared the big news that we are expecting, and I'm pregnant. And as I shoot this, I am 19 and a half weeks pregnant. So quite a few weeks into my second trimester, and we are both super excited, super grateful, super thankful every day that we are in this position, and we are blessed to have this little bean growing inside me. Both our families are super excited because I feel like we're having this baby for a lot of people. Kumar is the youngest son, and by a lot of years on his side of the family, and the niece that I have is 17 years old. So it's been a long time in his family that they've seen a baby. And on my side, I'm the oldest. So this is our first grandchild of my mom and dad. In today's video, I wanted to share the symptoms and signs from my first trimester and tell you how and what I felt even before I had that positive pregnancy test. I've been keeping a pretty good log of things, which is here on my iPad, and I just wrote a lot of things that might be helpful in people who are curious to just maybe know what a woman goes through when she's pregnant, or if you are in the same boat as me and you're also expecting. Firstly, congratulations, and let's talk in the comment section about if your signs and symptoms were similar or different than what I've been through. So even before I found out that I was pregnant, well, my cycles are off, like I mentioned in my previous video. So because I have PCOS, my ovulation is anywhere from day 16 to 19 or 20 sometimes. So my cycle can be 29 to 35 days long. So I always need to use the ovulation predictor kit and actually track ovulation more than one day. So what I did is I used the digital ovulation predictor kits by Clear Blue, and then I also used to track my basal body temperature, where you take your temperature with a special thermometer every morning that you wake up, and there's a slight change in that temperature when you ovulate. So when I thought that I was week 4, I was technically week 3, and they count your weeks from your first day of your last menstrual period. Why I'm saying I was week 3 when I was week 4 is because in the technical terms they would assume that I should be week 4, week 5, 6, but I was actually measuring a week behind, which actually caused a lot of chaos. That's what I want to tell you, is that it's very important that you advocate for yourself and don't take no for an answer from anybody, because you know your body and your cycle better than anybody else. Week 4, actually it was 4 days and 4 weeks and 2 days is when I actually got my first positive test. I used a very cheapy 50-cent Amazon strip test to do my first pregnancy test, and it gave me like a faint line, and then I realized that it was actually expired. But then we rushed off to Walmart at 6 in the morning and got the Clear Blue digital test, which I tested on again, and it had, I think, enough HCG that it registered a positive pregnancy test. And actually it says the word pregnant, so you're not looking at those two lines and figuring it out if it's light or dark or whatever. It saves you the mental stress. Yeah, before my positive test, I was gonna go for an IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. But yeah, I didn't need to go through IUI, which is great. But I did use letrozole. I actually contacted my OB to just start with a dose of letrozole and try it out. I took 2.5 milligrams of letrozole for 5 days, and my ovulation day was 18 or something like that. After my ovulation, I've written a lot of notes, so bear with me. I had watery discharge, more like an egg white discharge that you have around ovulation at 6 DPO. I don't know, I just read that sometimes when estrogen increases, you can get a watery discharge. And I was also, like I said, tracking my basal body temperature, which I'm going to say BBT, which had spiked right after my tracked ovulation. So I could confirm that I had in fact ovulated when I thought I did. After 6 DPO, I saw a drop in by BBT, which can indicate implantation. But again, I didn't want to get my hopes up too high. I had a lot of cramping on my right ovary or my right side. I don't know because later I found out that I actually ovulated from my left side. So I don't know why my right ovary was cramping. I probably also implanted on my left side. So I don't know why my right side was cramping, but it did. I don't know why. There was also a consistent rise in my basal body temperature after that, and that can most of the times indicate pregnancy. I was super, super emotional. I was crying at the silliest of things. I've written here that I was overly emotional and I actually cried during Olympic wins. Yes. I love watching Olympics. And I actually cried when some people won. I don't even remember who, but I was crying during Olympics. And then on 12 DPO is when I actually tested on an expired, cheap Amazon strip test. And I usually have a sign that my period is coming. I have a really bad headache like 2 days before I get a period. I never got a headache, so that's what I thought. Like, okay, maybe this is a good sign and I'm actually going to get pregnant. After my positive test, I had immediate bloating, like so much like gassiness and like firmness in my tummy, like lower abdomen area, constipation. Yeah. Pregnant women go through constipation a lot. um, I had constipation. My body just like felt weird, it just didn't feel like my regular self. But I wanted to be as fit and continue to do the things that I was doing pre-pregnancy while I was pregnant. That was the plan anyway. So I maintained my diet, which is eating like lots of fruits and vegetables and protein, limiting my carbs and all that, lots of water, continuing to take my prenatal vitamins and vitamin D and all that, eating fruits, continuing to do strength training 5 times a week. Week 5, which is probably week 4 now, I continued to have bloating and gas. I occasionally had like breast tenderness and also like tenderness near my underarm. I had like minute fatigue in week 4 or 5 ish, but nothing that I couldn't work through. And then I did an HCG blood draw. So because I was already working with my fertility clinic, I let them know on the following Monday after I tested positive that hey, I have tested positive, and they asked me to come in for an HCG blood draw, which is a quantitative blood draw where they can see the number that your HCG is at, and ideally your HCG needs to double every 48 hours for the first few weeks, and that's what indicates a healthy growing pregnancy. So I did an HCG blood draw, the numbers grew, and I kept thinking positively, which is good. 3 days after I actually got a positive test, I started spotting again, and this was 15 DPO. And at that point, I actually thought it might be from implantation. So it was really, really small amount of brown discharge, and it was similar to what I had last year. So I was just, I was a little like, hey, is this happening again? Like, what's going on? Like, I had this brown spotting last time as well. Are things not good this time too? The week after that, I haven't written anything here for week 6. I had my first ultrasound, and because I was again going through to a fertility clinic, is why I had an ultrasound so early. Again, because I was going to a fertility clinic, they asked me to come in early. Hindsight, I shouldn't have gone for that ultrasound, knowing my dates and everything. So it was um, it was a hard one. So this was like week 5 or 6. I can't remember. So that was a week. We went to the ultrasound, and oh, it was, according to them, it was 6 weeks and a day, but it was actually like 5 ish weeks, I want to say. They saw a little bean in my uterus, which was a good thing. They also saw a flickering heart, which I was so excited about. I again started to cry. It was like a little tiny little thing. They then started to look at the heartbeat. Um, and mind you, I didn't hear the heartbeat until week 16, which is ridiculous. But my clinics didn't let me or didn't have the equipment for me to listen to the heartbeat for whatever reason. So week 5, 6, whatever this is, my first appointment, they measured the heartbeat and it was 96 beats per minute. They want the first heartbeat to be anywhere between 100 to 120 beats per minute. And this was measuring a little low. And for whatever reason, I felt like the doctor was just being super negative about it and didn't I didn't get a good vibe from her, and I was super annoyed at that, And I kept telling her that my ovulation is late. So let's say someone ovulates on day 40 of their cycle. Would they then be already like 4 weeks along? And how many or that is 4 5 weeks along? No, right? That's not how it should work. Like your gestational age is different from the actual like length or from that they measure. Nobody listened to me, um, and she wasn't super positive about it. And then also my ultrasound was a little weird, wherein you didn't see like the actual uterus properly. There was like some mass going growing around it. Like it was a little unusual. She said, let's be cautiously optimistic about it. And I didn't really have a good feeling about that. So they then called us 2 days later, and this again was a weird ultrasound because in my mind, when you go for an ultrasound, you need to have drink water. But then I understood that you only need to do that if they're doing an ultrasound from the top, not when they're doing it transvaginally. And usually these early ultrasounds are done transvaginally, but they put the ultrasound wand inside of you. So I had water, okay, and this lady didn't ask me to empty my bladder. So when they went for the ultrasound, one, it was super painful because my bladder was full, and so I think my uterus and everything had shifted around or like something, so they couldn't even find the sac this time. And my spotting, bleeding, brown spotting had continued all through this while. So then they tell me like it's not looking like good news, and we don't see anything. She had given me progesterone just in case that was my progesterone was low, and that's what was causing the bleeding. So I started taking progesterone because it helps maintain the lining of the uterus. So she asked me to stop taking progesterone, and she was like, once you stop progesterone, you're most likely going to start bleeding, and that's going to be it. I was just numb from that point. I didn't want to do anything. I was again blaming God. I was again questioning, like, why are you making me go through this again? Why even bless me with something like this when you're gonna take it away so soon? And I was just very, very bitter about it. I I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I took a couple days off from work. I was just lying on the couch doing nothing. Kumar was being the best guy in the world that he is, getting me food and doing everything for me. And it was hard. It was very hard. They had asked me to come for a follow up ultrasound the week after, so it was like the Thursday after. And she was like, if you don't bleed by then, we'll see what to do. And I don't know. I then your mind just shifts. Your just mind is just in this coping mechanism to try to protect you. So I started looking up things about recurrent miscarriages and like, why is this happening to me? Um, we started thinking of what we should do next. Maybe we should just go for an IVF or something, and maybe that might help. Thursday rolled around and I had zero hopes. I just walked in thinking the worst because my spotting had continued. My symptoms I felt had kind of disappeared. I, I ate all the junk that I could, all the chips and all the cheese sandwiches and everything. I had already stopped exercising because of the spotting that I was having. So yeah, I just walked in, just being like indifferent to whatever news it was going to be. So this was going to be like week 8 when I went in. So yeah, it was like week 7 when week 7 that they actually thought we were going in for, but it was week 6 where nobody listened to me because they don't. So we went in for our week 8 ultrasound this time, and that's when they saw my little baby in there, happily growing, measuring 7 weeks and 2 days. The doctor came in and she was like, wow, we see something. And I wasn't even looking at the screen this time because I had just given up. I had just given up everything. I had stopped taking my prenatals. Kumar was looking at the screen, but I wasn't. And he just kept looking, and he maybe he saw something, but he didn't want to say anything. And then the doctor comes in and gives this big smile. I was looking at her face, and she's like, "Hey, what do we have here?" And at first I thought, I don't know. I don't know what she's seeing, and she shouldn't be so sadistic as to smile if she's not seeing anything positive on there. And she saw a little baby with a good heart rate. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like 170 or something. Yeah, it was a good heartbeat. And then she showed me, and sure enough, there was a little baby in there, and was measuring 7 weeks and 2 days, not 8 weeks and 2 days like they were expecting. And then she asked me, "Is there any chance you probably had sex a week later? Is there a chance?" I was like, "No, but I told you that I ovulate a week late than the regular public, so my cycle is not going to be the ideal cycle." And she's like, "Oh, oh, okay." And I was mad about that. But I let that go because I was seeing this little baby growing there. And I was super excited and super happy that things were good. So, but still, the my uterus didn't seem like the normal uterine cavity. But all the structures for the baby were there, like the yolk sac and the fetal pole, the baby, everything was there, a good heartbeat, and my spotting still continued, and that was a little bit concerning. But since the baby was doing fine, I wasn't super worried at this point. The structure looked like two sacs, so at some point it felt like it might have been twins, and I asked her if she could look at my ovaries and see if I had maybe ovulated two follicles because of the letrozole. I didn't tell her about the letrozole because that was through my OB, and I didn't want to, they get really mad if you're like mixing providers. So I didn't let her know that I had actually taken letrozole. But she checked my ovary, and I had, sure enough, just ovulated one follicle from the left side. It looked like two sacs, and one of them was disappearing. And the question now just was like, hopefully the second sac doesn't put pressure on the sac where the baby was. And thankfully it didn't. And so we were so excited again, so happy that things were looking okay. So, okay, week 7 is where I said extreme fatigue and sleepiness. I did get a little energy back once I started eating well because, again, I had stopped eating good food. I was just eating whatever I felt like. I was very hungry and very gassy, and this is, I think, one symptom that I have with every pregnancy is where I get super hungry. I want to eat all the time. I have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and maybe go for a bread and jam or something. When I got back from that particular appointment at 7 weeks and 2 days now, and I put in the progesterone pill, which is a suppository, a pill you put inside of your vagina and then sucks in whatever. I immediately bled. So then I was like, oh, maybe it's just my cervix that isn't liking the extra blood flow that it gets during pregnancy. So I immediately bled like bright red blood. But at this time, I knew what caused it. So I just stopped the progesterone pills. And then the bleeding seems to have settled down. But I kept having these vivid dreams, and I still do to this day. Like crazy, super random people in my dreams, like people from my undergrad college or from my school who I haven't spoken to in like years pop into my dreams. So hi, if you're watching. Yeah, it's just like these random storylines, and yeah, it's these vivid dreams that I actually remember when I get up in the morning. From week 9 onwards, I've actually started putting down my correct symptoms. Okay, so week 9 was again pretty standard. I had a little bit of nausea, looks like, and my spotting had reduced by a lot. At my 8th week appointment, actually, when we went in again, the baby had grown by a lot and was measuring at 8 weeks exactly. So my ultrasound again, the dating again went back 2 days. It was bouncing between Tuesday and Thursday. So on the Tuesday ultrasound, it was measuring at 8 weeks exactly. So that's what we go by now, and that's how the baby has been measuring. Even at like when I had my 12-week ultrasound, it's like right spot on. From then on, I had an ultrasound every week, which was again super exciting because we got to see this little baby grow from like a teeny tiny bean to like a big enough baby, I guess, which was like moving and dancing in there at week 10. Anyway, going back to week 9, I had a little bit of nausea. Again, the spotting had reduced by a lot. Again, I was hungry all the time, and I somehow started having heartburn, where if I ate anything spicy, or even with like a little bit of masala, I started getting these burps and like really feeling. But I started walking frequently, and up to this day, I've kept that. At least that's one form of exercise I do consistently. I walk a lot, and that also gives me and Kumar time to spend some time together. Because I had a lot of bloating and my tummy was really big by week 7 and 8, I needed to have like a pillow to sleep on, when I slept on my side, because my back hurt so much. I didn't get the pregnancy pillow because I somehow felt that I'm going to feel claustrophobic about it, but I just needed something to support my belly. So I just got a wedge sort of thing. And I also noticed an increase in discharge, and that's something that's really common because your vagina is trying to protect the insides from any kind of infection. Moving on to week 10. Week 10, the ultrasound was perfect. I think my spirits were high. So I was happy about that. The baby was moving this time. We saw its little hands and things moving like little buds. It was so cute. The week 10 is when we actually graduated from the fertility clinic. Even for an IVF pregnancy or any kind of pregnancy where you've been through like a fertility treatment, at least here in the US, um, you need to go back to your OB for the rest of your pregnancy care. So yeah, we graduated and they gave us the little cute gifts from the clinic, which was really nice. The next day, when I graduated from the clinic, we went to our regular OB who did the blood tests. We also did the NIPT test, which is a blood test that they do for checking chromosomal abnormalities. And here in the US, they also will be able to tell you the gender. My spotting had gone away by this time. Um, but what happened is at 10 and a half weeks, we went to a friend's place for a little get together. And maybe I stressed myself a little too much. I was walking in the sand and, at the beach and doing all that. And maybe my body got stressed. And when I got home, I felt this gush of something coming out of me. And sure enough, I was bleeding. And I was bleeding so much that it was like running down my legs, and it was very, very scary. But I kind of thought that this is expected. I didn't have any sort of cramping or pain or anything, so I knew it was probably just my cervix acting up again. Yeah, I put in a pad, and by the next couple days, the bleeding had stopped and almost gone away. I was still super, super tired. I think fatigue had definitely picked up at this point. So week 11 is when we got our NIPT tests back. Everything was great. Baby was low risk for all the Down syndrome, trisomy 13, and then there was something else. So everything was good. We found out the gender, like we didn't find it out, but we kept it a surprise since we wanted to do a gender reveal. So we let a friend of ours actually look at the report and then send us rest of the report. So that was very good news. That was more important to me than anything, that the baby was healthy and everything was looking good. So week 11 is also when my nausea came back a little bit. I haven't really thrown up, and very thankful about that. I maybe threw up once, and that too was just because I had lemon water over curd and rice, bad combo. So I threw up then. But I usually had like a little bit nauseous feeling in the morning, and I just ate a couple oranges and everything was fine. Okay, sorry, I had to do a little change of scenery because not only did my microphone stop recording, but my phone also went off because apparently my phone isn't charged. But anyway, so week 12 is when we had our nuchal translucency test or scan, which is the NT scan, wherein they look at the fluid behind the spinal cord and they check for signs of Down syndrome. And they also do like a little bit of preliminary checking of all the heart and kidneys and all those organs that they're looking at, the limbs and hands and all that. Everything was fine. The baby was sleeping when we went for the scan, so she poked the baby a little bit, and it was so cute because the baby was like stretching and trying to get up and crossing their legs like I do when I get up. It was amazing. I was like, okay, that is my child because that's exactly what I do when I wake up. And they were then jumping and playing around and so cute, waving their hand at us, and it was just super cute. And I was so grateful and so thankful that everything looked great and everything looked as it was supposed to. At week 12 also my hunger seemed to have gone down, but it picked right back up the next week. I felt really, really full even if I ate a little bit. So eyes bigger than the stomach kind of thing. And I was still super emotional and quick to cry at anything. Well, that's a pregnancy symptom or just a regular symptom for me in my regular general life. I could only eat small meals. Still was peeing frequently. Well, I have been peeing frequently ever since I got pregnant. So that's a pretty common symptom that most of the pregnant ladies have, and it's only going to get worse as the pregnancy progresses. Again, super tired, but my energy did pick up and come back in the second trimester, as it usually does for a lot of people. So that was good. And week 12 was when we told a bunch of our friends, because we were also planning our gender reveal party at this point, which we did at 14 and a half weeks. And I'm going to tell you more about it in the next video when I do my second trimester roundup. So stay tuned for that. We felt confident that everything looked fine with the baby, and since only one of our friends actually knew the gender, we thought, okay, let's do a reveal and let our close people know what the baby is. Week 13 then rolled around, and I was super excited because this meant that I was close to finishing my first trimester. It was just the greatest feeling ever. So week 13, I had pretty similar symptoms, very little bit of nausea, still feeling tired, and I saw a small little bump showing, and that was very exciting. Again, like I said, yeah, nausea went away. I also started noticing that my breasts were getting larger, as they do, and the area around the nipple started getting darker, which acts like a bullseye for teeny tiny babies to look for when they're feeding. So, you know, nature does its things. But anyway, yeah, that's a roundup of my first trimester. Thank you guys so much for listening. We again are very excited to meet this little child, and we are so excited to see what he or she grow up to be. Yeah, we know the gender, but I'm going to use he or she till I reveal it to you. But yeah, we are so excited, so thankful and grateful that things are progressing like they should. Thank you so much for your kind words and thoughts that you send our way. I appreciate each and every word that you send across, and so thank you so much. And if you are in a similar boat and pregnant as I am, let me know if you had similar symptoms or different than mine, and how you're feeling. I hope your pregnancy is going just as well, and you are feeling great. And if you're not there yet, if you are going through any fertility struggles, I'm sending my positive vibes and prayers to you. Keep taking care of your health and of your mind as well, because this is unfortunately a pretty challenging time in a lot of our lives. But yeah, just keep thinking positively and taking care of your health and eating well and exercising and doing all the stuff that's needed for a healthy woman before you start on your journey towards motherhood. So yeah, thank you so much again for tuning in and listening to me talk about my first trimester. And that's about it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.